This podcast may contain strong language and adult themes. Hello and welcome back to another edition of Voice Notes from Connor, the podcast where I'll be listening to old voice memos and notes from my past self and responding as my present self with some guests along the way. However, in this episode, we don't have any guests. It's just me and my past self, my past and present self. So as always, we'll get straight into it. So without further ado, let's hear from me. Hear me out. Hangxiety. I only get hangxiety when I've been out with a group of people. Whereas if I've been out with, say, just one other person, two other people, a smaller group, I mean, this all depends on how much you've drank, right? Because if you've got absolutely fucking wrecked, then it's pretty difficult not to avoid hangxiety unless you're so hungover, you're battling for your life, and therefore you don't have time to be anxious. So let's say you've had a moderate amount to drink. I don't know why, in a group, it's like, I forgot, who did I say this to? Did I say that to? And then you start overthinking it more. Whereas if you just go out with one other person and it's a chill night and two other people, very, very rarely wake up with hangxiety. So that was recorded a while ago, actually, and I've thought about it more and more since. And literally 2 weeks ago, I went out. I was invited to an event at a university to speak, and a colleague came along with me, and we said, we'll go out for some drinks after. And I was like, yes, that's, I'm looking forward to the event, but the drinks even more so. Having a gossip, having a chat about all sorts of different things. And it was just my brain went, her and I, me and her. Oh, well, I'm not William Hanson, the etiquette expert. So I'll go for me and her. We went out, and just us two for about 5 hours, had a great time, really enjoyed it. Next day, drank quite a lot, not loads, so probably slightly more than a moderate amount, and didn't have hangxiety. And again, I think for me, it's like when you're with a group of people, because you're interacting with so many, you're interacting with more people. And depending on how drunk you are, you kind of start forgetting what you've said to people, and then you wake up with the beer fear. You wake up with like the fear of like, oh God, what did I say to that person? They were talking about politics, they were talking about reform, or they were talking about Jeremy Corbyn, legend, hero. And did I get involved? I can't remember, etc. So yeah, I think a group setting sometimes gives me more hangxiety the next day, but as I said, it also does depend on how much I drink. So a moderate amount is different nowadays. I mean, when I was in my early 20s, before going out, pre-drinks was at least 4 bottles of beer and a whole bottle of wine, like quite easily actually. Whereas now, 31, if I drank a whole bottle of wine and 4 bottles of beer before going out, oh my Lord, it would be like, oh God, the hangover would be evil. So I wouldn't do that to myself. And I do have a hangover scale as well. And I feel like some hangovers are quite nice. And I've heard other people talk about this before. And then other people get hangovers that are just awful, cruel, evil, battling for their life, being sick, like almost every time. Whereas for me, I suppose so I'll voice note friends or whatever if we've been out, and I'll say, went out yesterday, like 4 out of 10 hungover, 4 out of 10, and that to me is like a bit sleepy. I'm probably going to have a nap in the afternoon. I could absolutely smash a Mackey's or like a takeaway, or some kind of food like that. Watch a film, feel quite relaxed. I don't know if that has something to do with ADHD or whatever as well, like how it like forces me into this relaxation. Like I don't drink much these days, actually, and I'll talk about that in a second. So I don't actually drink much nowadays, But sometimes it's like a good excuse. Like, I'm hungover. It's like a good excuse to yourself as well as other people. I can't do that. Sorry, I can't come out because I'm hungover. Or, do you know what? Actually, I had planned today to do, life admin, as I call it. So, everything from your food shop to your washing, all this stuff. And you think, you know what? Actually, I'm quite hungover. I'm just going to chill and watch. I'm just going to just catch up on some Severance or watch a bit of White Lotus or some reality TV, as I've talked about my taste in TV in previous episodes. And then you go to the other end of the scale, right? So when you get into like 7 or above, that's when you're being sick, you're really struggling, you're having to do the breathing, the deep breaths, you can't eat. It's you really feel like you've poisoned yourself at that point. Because let's be honest, that's what drinking alcohol is. You're poisoning yourself slowly or maybe quickly, depending on how much you drink. And then sometimes, the next day, you're like, a bit of poison, but I quite enjoyed it. I'm quite chilled. And then other times, it's like a lot of poison, and it's too much poison for me. I can't deal with this. But I think it's interesting there in how this happens. So, like the psychological aspects of drinking against the physiological aspects, because some people would say, well, if I've drank moderate amount to a lot, whether it's one person, 2 people, a group of people, I have hangxiety. I feel anxious the next day. I worry about things. I worry about what I've said. Might even get a bit of like existential dread and terror. It doesn't really matter. Because alcohol does that to you, there's more research now. I think it's discussed more in media, on social media, other places, that like the negative effects that alcohol has on you physiologically. It biologically, physiologically lowers your mood. It can have a lagged effect as well. So I've felt that in the past, where some days I'll wake up the next day and feel quite low, and also have that hangxiety, especially when it's been in a larger group and I've drank quite a lot. Whereas other times I'll find that I'll wake up, feel okay the next day. I'll think, maybe I'm a 4 out of 10 hangover, where I'm chilling and I feel quite relaxed, and then 2 days later there's a bit of a drop. Now, I'm sorry, because once you become aware of that, it's hard to forget about it. So it's a good thing if you're aware of it, but also when you go through it for the first time, you'll think, oh damn it, now I'll be more like aware of this, where like you'll feel that drop on like Tuesday or Wednesday, because it can have that lagged effect. So there's discussions, isn't there, now about, I see it a lot in media, about Gen Z, for instance, not drinking as much, and like being more aware of the effects of alcohol, as opposed to maybe some older generations that use it more like to relax, for instance, or they've had a stressful day, they'll have a drink, whereas maybe some people in generations like Gen Z, Millennial, will seek other healthier means to relax rather than just alcohol. But yeah, that contrast, or that sometimes that synchronization between the psychological and the physiological effects is quite interesting to me. There are some stuff now I've seen, people that are very much like anti-alcohol, don't drink, never drink. And I think this is quite sometimes reductive or even reductive or misleading information around, like, if you stop drinking, your mood will be like considerably better, you'll lose loads of weight, your life will improve loads. Yes, if you're drinking a bottle of wine a day, or you're drinking a lot of alcohol. But if you're someone that likes, like myself, these days I go through ebbs and flows with drinking, but let's say on an average week I might have literally a can or 2 of IPA on a Friday, and then a Saturday as well, and then drink nothing else throughout the week. I don't think me giving that up is suddenly going to like really improve my mental health and make me lose loads of weight. So, you get that, don't you? Often we do live in a binary society. It can become quite simplistic and black and white, like metaphorically, in terms of like, don't do this, don't ever do it. I suppose it's a bit like, Evan and I were discussing this yesterday, actually, a bit like smoking. Like, smoking is not good, and I wouldn't sit here and like, go on, go out and drink loads, go on, smoke loads. I'm not advocating for it, but at the same time, in moderation. I suppose I'm a bit of a libertarian in that way, or quite liberal in that way, where I'm not going to tell people what to do. Like if someone said to me, oh, I have, a few glasses of wine on the weekend, I'm not going to be like, right, do you know how bad that is for you? Stop doing that and your mood will improve and da-da-da-da. And if someone said, I have, 5 cigarettes a day, I wouldn't sit there and be like, sit down. All right, do you know what you're doing to your body, blah, 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 and start lecturing people. Of course, there's a spectrum here. So if one of my friends was like, Connor, I'm smoking 40 a day, I'd be like, right, let's get you on those nicotine patches. Let's get you some therapy. Let's get out of this. Let's try and go cold turkey. Or if a friend said I'm drinking a bottle of wine a day, I'd be like, right, I'll pay for some therapy for you, and we'll do some friend therapy as well. I'm going a little bit off topic here, aren't I, from Hanxiety. But yeah, some people do struggle with it quite badly. Thankfully, it's not all the time for me. We know that there is like a physiological aspect there with it as well. But yeah, when it's with another person, I don't know if I'm more lucid, I can remember things more, because I think memory is a big part of Hanxiety as well, like getting drunk to a certain point and forgetting. It is awful the next day when you wake up and you think, oh no, like you can't remember. This is like the dangerous negative side of drinking if you do take it that far. Is that I can't remember this bit of the night, or I know I spoke to this person, but I genuinely cannot remember if I said something offensive or something that really goes against, I don't know, them as a person. Not that I would usually do that, but you get that fear, don't you? And I think if that's wrapped up in fear of judgment and other things with self-esteem, as I've talked about in other episodes, it makes it even worse. But yeah, let me know. Is that something you resonate with? Is that something you have? Do you have more hangxiety when you with a group than if you did it with, say, you drank with just your friend or a colleague or someone else? Or is it just me? So you can email us at vnfcpodcast@outlook.com, and you can also get in touch on TikTok and on YouTube as well. So yeah. Right, so we've got one more voice note from my past self in this episode. So let's take it away. For many years that I've lived on this planet, I thought that people who lived for the summer, who needed the sunshine, were basic bitches. Whenever people would say, oh my God, I can't be doing with this, the darkness, the cold, I just every time the sun's out, I feel my mood lifted. I think, good Lord, you're basic. What? There's so much more to life, etc. It's nice when it's cold or cosy evenings and the yin and yang of our planet to go from, to have those seasons. However, a big fat however, the last couple of years, I feel like the winters have been brutal. And as soon as the sun came out in March, I needed it. And I've now turned into one of those basic bitches. I need the light. I need the sun. I need the warmth. Please. Yes, I need the warmth. I need the light. Please. I've already started thinking about it, Evan. I've already started thinking about October and November are going to roll around. The seasonal affective disorder or seasonal affective depression. I can't remember which one it is, actually. SAD is the acronym. SAD's probably going to take over again. And when I was younger, I really feel like it didn't affect me. And if it did, it was maybe more subconscious than conscious. So I wasn't thinking about it so much. But now I thought last winter, I don't know other people, but the last winter was in the UK was quite brutal. I thought it was really, really difficult. I think being a teacher, so teachers out there, lecturers might be able to resonate with this as well. Your November through to your March is quite intense. It's when you're getting into it more, you've got over that first stage of new students, or it's a new year and you start lighter maybe with the curriculum, and then that's when you're getting into it. So my job gets harder, and then that's compounded with or by the lack of light, it getting dark at 3:45, it not being light until 8 in the morning. And I went through my early to mid 20s. I remember thinking it all the time, God, these basic bitches on social media of any gender, of all genders, doesn't really matter what gender it is, but just basic bitches. I live for the summer, I need the light. I actually feel so affected when it's cloudy and rainy and it's dark, and I think, oh my God, how are you going through life so affected by the weather? Come on now, you can, if it's cloudy, there's lots of ways to make yourself feel better. You don't need to rely on the weather to dictate or shape your mood. Whereas as I've got older, over the last couple of years in particular, I do feel it more. And I think it's one of those things, like when you become conscious of it, it becomes worse. Like, I mentioned earlier about the drop from alcohol. Like when maybe you're not so conscious of that, you would still have that lower mood happen a few days later, but you might not consciously say to yourself, "Oh, that's because of the alcohol." You might push through it. You might think it's like, "Oh, I'm just feeling like that today." Then when you become conscious of it, you're like, "Oh no, now I'm conscious of it." And that's how I feel now with like SAD, SAD, the light, all that kind of stuff. I'm way more conscious. My best friend Bridget, she has been affected by this for a long time. Most of her life, actually, because she grew up in South Africa, where the weather generally was a lot nicer. And then she moved here when she was 12, and it was brutal. She wouldn't mind me saying, she was very, very shocked. By changing culture and how things were different here, right? But also the weather and how like bleak the winters are compared to a country like South Africa. And how much that would affect her. And I remember thinking, like, I mean, I wouldn't be so harsh to her back then, like, you basic bitch. Yeah, you need the weather to feel good. But I remember thinking, like, oh, bless her. Like, she feels like that. It's a struggle. It's difficult. Thankfully, I don't. It's like, again, when I said in a previous episode about when I'd struggled with mental health all of my life, like anxiety and low moods and stress and stuff. And in my early 20s, I would say, oh, I'm so thankful that I don't have anxiety or depression or low mood. Which at that time, actually, I've just got a memory. I remember at that time it started to be talked about more in the media. So like 2014, 15, 16, we did start to get a bit more discourse in mainstream media on TV programs, daytime TV programs, for example, like This Morning and Loose Women, would talk about it more, but it seemed to be quite extreme. So like, if you're living with anxiety, that's you can't leave the house, you're having panic attacks all the time, it's really severe. Depression or low mood is you can't get out of bed, you've not eaten for 3 days. And of course, people will have mental health that is at that level, unfortunately, but actually it's a spectrum. There's light in the shade. It's different at points. So when actually I'd learned really about what mental health was, I was like, I was going around saying, thank the Lord, if there is one, that I don't have mental health problems, and I did. And it's the same thing now. I feel like the same thing now with the light. I'm like, no, I've acknowledged it now, and now I can't escape it. I mean, this summer in the UK has been, if you're listening again in the future, this summer 2025, has been good. I mean, last year was diabolical. It was tragic. It was so bad. Whereas, this year, it's like it's not been great, it's not been perfect, but it's been much better, and I've really appreciated that. Like, I feel like I'm reveling in, oh God, it's still light and it's 9:30. I don't feel as rushed. In the winter, I'm leaving work at 4 o'clock, and I'm rushing because I feel like I'm leaving work at 8 o'clock, like on a Friday, leave work at just after 4, go and do my food shopping, so it's done out of the way, and then chill for the evening. And I'd be like, come on, like I want to just get this food shopping done, it's late. It's not late. Then I left when it was like April, May. I was leaving work on a Friday at 4 to go and do my food shopping. I was like, oh my God, it's like midday. I've got so much time. So you just feel like you've got so much more life and time on your hands. So I take it back. I think my past self was harsh there about how I would view people that valued the summer and the light and the sunshine. I do also very much enjoy a sunny day in the winter. When you get like crystal blue sky, but it's like 3 degrees and it's sunny. I'd take that, actually. I'd be happy with that for most of the winter. It's just, when it's like it's raining and it's bleak and it's really cold, I don't mind if we just get more sunlight. When I went on holiday recently as well, I became even more conscious of the benefits of vitamin D and sunlight, and had less spots, like little white spots out of my nails, which can that come up, but it wasn't like a serious health concern or anything, but can signify, I think it's zinc deficiency or other things, all gone after a few days. I felt like I was sleeping better, all of that, even though it was quite hot and the air conditioning was heavenly. I needed the air conditioning. which we're severely lacking in this country. I think times are moving on, and even though it's not good for the environment is changing, and I do feel like we're going to start to need to bring air conditioning into British culture a bit more in houses, etc. for people. Well, it's going to be a privilege, isn't it, for people that can afford it? But yeah, the benefits of it, I feel like I'm just becoming more and more conscious. I remember when I was younger, my grandparents often being very like, really sitting in the garden in the sun, like really, really enjoying it, and me being like, I'm 10 here, and I feel like whatever. Like, this is fine. Like, I don't really know why you seem to be getting a lot of pleasure from the fact that it's a nice day. But now, I feel that deeply, definitely. So yeah, exciting topic there. Weather, very British topic as well to talk about for however long I've just talked there. So yeah, that brings us to the end of episode 6. As always, thank you for tuning in. We do really appreciate it. And you can get in touch through all the usual channels, vnfcpodcast@outlook.com, and TikTok and YouTube as well. We'd love to hear from you. So yeah, ciao for now. You've been listening to Voice Notes from Connor. Created, hosted and starring me, Connor Winterton. Produced and edited by Evan Greaves. If you'd like to get in touch, you can message us on TikTok and YouTube. And if you'd like to get in touch via email, our email address is vnfcpodcast@outlook.com. You can send us any feedback, any thoughts on the episodes, as well as your own voice notes that might make it into future episodes or future series. So that was vnfcpodcast@outlook.com. Thank you very much.